Hi, and welcome to the 13th season of Georgina Blooms. I'm excited to bring this all to you. Today, we start the show off with garden myths, something we've never done before, and we want you to have a really good season of gardening. So you need to know what not to believe, and cedar is going to be part of it. So please, stay tuned with me at Georgina Garden Centre, and Shannon's going to help me talk about the myths. You won't want to miss this. Welcome back. And joining me is Shannon Lindensmith, is the manager of Georgina Garden Centre. Hello. Thank you. And we started off the intro with cedar bushes. And people have a tendency to think these are mosquito.
They have a hate on them.
They do.
And you don't need to.
No. And so the thing is, I'm not going to plant cedar because it attracts mosquitoes, when the absolute opposite is cedar actually contains a chemical that repels mosquitoes, and that same chemical is used in some bug sprays.
Yes.
So
what mosquitoes are attracted to, which this is why people think this myth, is because cedars, if they're grown in the right spot, is usually a very damp area, moist area, water sitting, where mosquitoes like to breed. Sitting water.
Yeah.
It's cool, it's dark inside of it, right? So if you go to any shrub in the summer, especially anything in the shade, but any shrub, and you kind of jiggle it, mosquitoes will come out of it because they're on the inside.
And so do other
and
things.
It's cool and dark in there, right? So it's a nice habitat for them. They're not attracted to it,
it's where they want it. And if what I've read is true, that it does contain a chemical that mosquitoes do not like, chances are the mosquitoes in your yard are hiding under other things.
Yes. And it's native, so it's a very good plant to have.
Yep. And I find anytime I work in the shade, because I tend to work the shade places in my garden, I am inundated with mosquitoes because now I'm disturbing their happy place.
Yes. But they're relaxing there because it's nice and cool.
Yeah. And in looking up garden myths, there are some that are new to me, and this one was definitely.
I giggled at this one too.
I know. So, one of the myths is adding sugar to your soil so that your tomatoes are sweet. So if you add sugar to your soil, you're going to get ants.
Yes, exactly, and waste your sugar.
Yeah. And so this is beefsteak. This is Chadwick's cherry tomatoes, and this one is cherry tomato sweet gold. All of these are sweet tomatoes. If you want happy sweet tomatoes, it's not about the sweetness of the soil.
Sweetness sugar-wise. Sweetness as in good nutrients. If you're fertilizing properly, you keep it watered properly. Exactly. If you have all the really good growing conditions, your tomato will taste like a good tomato.
Yeah.
And you're right. Some tomatoes definitely, they'll even say, like that says sweet on it. So some are sweeter than other kinds. But as long as your soil's good and you have the right amendments in it and everything, your tomato's going to taste like a tomato.
This one says right on the package, a sweet tasty snack.
Yes.
So no sugar in your soil. Another one is the tar, pruning sealer.
That one's the pruning paint or tar, and then that one's a natural sealer. It's made out of beeswax type thing.
Oh, okay. Yep. So the thing is, when you cut, it would be a substantial branch.
It would have to be pretty big, but again, I learned in school too, and in the industry says the same thing. You can spray it on or paint it on if you want on the cut or part. Break, whatever it is. If it makes you feel better, you can. Okay. It doesn't need it. A tree is like us. You get a scrape or something, It might bleed for a bit, but you're going to stop it. You keep the wound clean, all that kind of stuff. It will scab over naturally. Yeah, you might get a scar. Yeah, you might not. Same with the tree.
Yeah.
So if you've cut it properly, it will be nice and clean. And as long as that cut stays clean, you're good.
Yeah.
If it's like an environmental thing and something ripped off or something, go out and clean in and around. If you can recut it to make a nice fresh cut.
Right.
Otherwise, sometimes, if it gets hit by lightning, you'll get like a gap.
Yeah.
Just keep it debris free.
Okay.
Okay. And it will naturally heal itself. Again, if it's a memorial tree or something that is just really dear to you, and if this makes you feel better by putting it on, by all means, but you don't have to
do that.
Yes, it will naturally heal itself.
And I remember this being more of a thing for my dad than it is these days.
Yes.
So
for sure.
I've cut all kinds of tree limbs and so on.
And again, as long as you're cutting at the right time of year, right? You're not going to cut a maple at this time of year.
No.
Hence maple syrup right now.
Yeah.
Right? And you're not going to cut it in the heat of summer. You're going to cut it in the winter when the sap's not moving. So as long as you know when to prune what, like you can prune your fruit trees now, but you don't have to cover them. You don't have to seal them.
Right.
So as long as you know when to cut and you're cutting properly, that's also a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Yep.
One of the other things, and I know this is a real pet peeve of yours, these are succulents. And succulents, as we all know, are drought tolerant.
Tolerant being the operative word.
It's kind of like buying a watch and it's water resistant, not proof resistant. These are drought tolerant, which means
little, or not even little water less frequently. So it still needs water.
Yes.
It doesn't never need water. And same a shrub, tree, anything that says drought tolerant, it's not, I'm going to put it in hope for the rain or hope for the best, or you still have to water it. Once it gets established way down the road, okay, you can skip some of them. But again, if you have a really dry season, you're going to need to water stuff.
Yeah.
It's living. It needs water.
Yucca plants are, they're a desert. These are deserty kind of plants. To establish them, they need water to get started.
Yes.
And once they get started, they are really, really good and drought tolerant. But for goodness sake, give them a good start. Yeah. And like you said, if there's no water for weeks on end, everything needs water. So drought tolerant don't mean no water. Anyway, please stay tuned. We've got more myths. Welcome back. And our next myth is something that I promoted even to you, which I shouldn't have. Doing garden myths made me realize that all this time that I asked you to leave your dandelions alone because they're one of the first flowers that helps feed the bees, wrong. Apparently Shannon knew. So this morning I went out through my garden to see, there are no dandelions, but I've got pulmonaria, I've got hellebores, I've got little irises blooming in the lawn, I've got Chionodoxa, I've got muscari, I've got...
Johnny jump ups would even be coming up soon.
Yes.
Before them, yep.
So, and, my neighbor's magnolia tree is about to pop.
And all your shade trees, all your deciduous are going to be coming into bloom very shortly. And a lot of them you don't notice they're in bloom because a lot of people are like, oh, look at the trees are leafing out.
Yeah.
Trees bloom before they leaf, for the majority of them.
Right.
So all your maples, your lindens, everything.
Oaks
will all be flowering within the next week or two before the leaves open, which is before dandelions. And bees love tree pollen too.
Yeah.
Yep.
The fruit trees.
Yes.
And I've got early spring tulips blooming as well. So, and when you put frost hardy plants out, now the bees have other stuff as well. So I know better now. And it's not to say that dandelions, because they do have, like, a dandelion has 400 little flowers, Dandelions do provide food to the bees if they need it. So leave little bits.
But there's just better sources for them. Yeah, there's better sources for them. There's sources before dandelions and more nutritional valued sources other than dandelions. So again, yes, it's not saying cut them all down now because you don't need them.
Yeah.
If you want to leave them, you can, but don't feel you have to because there are other sources.
And I won't yell at you if you dig them out. So
yes.
That was
and just
my
remember,
thing.
the more you leave, the more you're going to get in the future, because what you just said, they have 400 plus flowers. Each one of those is going to be a seed. So every one dandelion, you're going to have 400 plus more for one.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So there is a lot out right now for the bees to have and to hold.
Yes.
The next one is a really popular myth, and it's about peonies.
Yes.
And we have some pictures to show you, but the ants that are on a peony bulb or bud are not there to open the bud.
And I am surprised how many people, and experienced gardeners too, think that you need the ant to open the bud.
No.
No.
The ants are there because there is a very sweet substance covering the bud of a peony. That's what they're attracted to. And some people have said, I'm not having peonies because I don't want ants. I have a lot of peonies and I don't have any ant hills around them.
It's just a little food source for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. For that short little period of less than 24 hours, you have a peony bloom open. But
until the aphids come out and drop all their sweet stuff.
You're not going to attract all the neighborhood ants to your property because you have peonies or anything like that. They're there for a food source. They're moving on when it's gone.
Yeah.
And it is what it is.
And once the peony opens, that sweet substance is gone, and so are the ants. So plant peonies and admire the little ants that are eating because they'll be gone.
I have one we discussed before, but not before the show, and it has to do with bugs too, insects, is Japanese beetles.
Oh.
So we have big problems in this area with Japanese beetles later in the summer.
Yeah.
You get the grubs in the spring that eat the lawn, then they hatch into your Japanese beetle, your June bug, and they lay their eggs again, which is the grub again in the lawn. So you can do a natural trap. It has a hormone in it that attracts the Japanese beetle.
Male
they fall
and females.
in. Yes, and they drop in. It's all natural. Then you dump it out and you drown them in hot soapy water. You dispose of them.
Yeah.
I have people that come in and they say they have Japanese beetles, but they don't want to put the trap out because it attracts them.
Right.
It attracts the ones that are in the area. Each trap only will attract within a 200, I think it's like 200-foot radius.
Okay.
So if you're putting a trap there, they're coming, they're already there. You just don't see them. It's not attracting them from 7 neighbors down the road.
Yeah.
They're still over at your neighbors enjoying their food.
Yeah.
So 200 feet around that one trap, if they're coming to the trap, they're there.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid of putting the trap out.
Yes.
You're getting rid of the beetles. They're stopping the cycle of your grubs and your beetles.
Yeah.
Big myth.
And the one thing about the traps is, if your vegetable garden is here, put the trap over here.
Yeah.
To take them away from your vegetable garden.
Yes.
Not in the middle of your veggie garden where, they're all going to congregate into your vegetable garden. So you put it away from where you have, in our yard, I will be putting it, whatever.
Not too far, but far enough that they're not sitting in the vegetable waiting to go up to the hormone type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 50 feet away is
Yep.
So, and I'll be doing that this year because last year.
It's so effective.
They annihilate plants, period.
Yep.
So good point.
Sorry. Yes.
Another one is, and it's more of a tip than anything else.
Yep.
We used to, and I used to fill the bottom of my planters
Even
with
if you have big, deep ones.
gravel and clay shards and so on. What that does, if you put too much in, like if you fill it up, it holds water and it doesn't do the plant any good at all. And it doesn't allow for proper drainage out of the plant, out of the pot. So, and this I have been showing you all along. I use a coffee filter. It covers it up really nicely. It keeps the soil from getting washed away through the pot. And this is a whole lot easier and better for whatever plant you're going to put in a pot. So, and when it's a really big pot, I spread out my coffee filters and just put maybe 1 or 2 to cover up all the holes. But do that instead of pebbles or shards. And my other thing about pebbles was, because I would just grab them from where I had them on the ground, what disease am I throwing into the pot? So, yeah. The other thing is fertilizers.
I'll hang on to this one. You can
Okay, and so we know that bone meal, organic versus synthetic.
Right.
Bone meal would be organic.
Right. It's natural. If it's certified organic or not, it will have the certification, the OCQV, but it will at least be natural. For some, it matters between natural and organic, but it is natural. Whether it's organic or not is another thing. But yes, both of these are now organic.
Oh, okay.
So there's a difference. I know.
Okay, but I would think bone meal to me is a natural occurring
exactly.
thing. Okay. So using organic as opposed to synthetic boils down to the same things, basically.
Well, the myth is that organic or natural is safer than synthetic. And yes, it is safer because it's natural organic. However, you still have to follow according to directions. You can still hurt your plant, you can kill your plant, burn, whatever, if you don't use according to directions.
Yeah.
Right? So, yes, 100% it is better than synthetic, safer than it's synthetic, but you still have to follow the directions.
And the other thing that always killed me was the word chemical, not to use chemicals. I use vinegar in my pathways to get rid of weeds. Vinegar is a chemical.
So they say, I know I never pronounce this right, pyrethrins?
Yeah, but that's from a...
Yes, but it's still you can say it's a chemical, but it's a natural.
Pyrethrum is from...
chrysanthemums.
Chrysanthemums, yeah. So whatever you do, whichever one you use, just read the directions and follow them. Because you can kill anything with organic or non-organic.
Right.
Anyways, stay tuned. We still have more myths. Welcome back. And one of my, what I think is funny is when the garden center is loaded with beautiful annuals, especially around Mother's Day, people flock here.
As they should.
Yes. Yes, rightfully so. I'm part of the flock. And they go home and they leave. They figure because you've got these plants already for sale, it's fine to bring them home and leave them out. What they don't notice is all the tender plants are under the hoop houses. So, and I'm holding a pepper because vegetables and flowers that are frost tender you can buy them up ahead of time, but you also need to protect them until you can safely put them outside.
Right. And peppers and tomatoes, you have to remember, even though if it's safe outside, the soil temperature has to be a constant 10 degrees for peppers and tomatoes. So we've had a few really warm Mays and people plant them early. They could survive, they might not.
Yeah.
But if you wait till the soil's constant 10 degrees, you actually get a better production on them later in the season than when you would have planted in May. Even if it didn't get hit by frost, it's the soil for them.
The temperature of the soil.
Yeah.
So June, the beginning of June would be the best time for. But our frost-free days last frost, thank you, are anywhere between May 11th and May 20th for Keswick. Sutton seems to have, I don't know if it's because of the lake or where it is, Sutton's frost last frost-free day is around May 1st to May 11th. So if you take all of that into account, if I buy a beautiful, this is...
you see, this is a bad example because
this is frost
cold hardy. Yeah,
yes.
it can go outside.
Yes.
But
if these were annuals...
Your geraniums, everything else.
Yes. And I had it outside. If we're anticipating frost or a really cool evening, I would just cover it with the bed sheet.
Or pop it inside if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it in a garage or a shed. And if you're going to cover it outside, do not use plastic.
Right.
Because plastic will just...
Bed sheets, they have to breathe still.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So think of your frost-free days, and just because the garden center is covered in gorgeous color...
Still come and look at it.
Well, yeah. I usually
Just watch
do.
your weather.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And pay attention to the temperatures at night as well. So another myth I find anytime we've done a show on compost, you know, the complaint is, I don't have a compost pile because it smells. It smells because it too needs to be looked after. It needs to be turned.
Yes.
It needs to have air.
Proper composting will not smell at all.
No, proper composting actually has a very sweet, earthy smell. And the other thing about composts is that if it does get cold and you worry about worms that you have in there, worms are not stupid. They're going to go to where it's warm, if that's the center. If the center gets too hot, they're going to go to the outside.
And if the compost pile is working properly, it will be warm, the proper warm
in
the inside.
center.
Exactly.
Yep. So the other thing is not to water your plants at the height of the day because it burns the leaves.
And that is watering the plant, not the roots. So you never water your plant itself because the plant, the leaves, don't need water. The roots need the water.
Right.
So you're right. In the summer, if you go out and water, sometimes as an emergency, but sometimes that's the time you have. If you do get water in the leaves, it's not necessarily going to burn the leaves, but you want to try. Yes, you want to try and get the soil anyways. Yeah. But yeah, it won't burn them.
No, because after, you know, you have sun showers, and then the sun comes out in the summertime. I don't see any of my leaves are burned because of water. But yes, watering from the bottom is always better for your plants in the garden, period.
Yes.
And that can't always be done. Another myth is that nothing grows under a black walnut tree. A lot does.
Limited, but there are some things. But it will be a very big trial and error, because if you have a walnut and I have a walnut, maybe a cedar would grow for you, but not for me. Or maybe whatever hosta, whatever it is, might grow for me, but not for you. So walnuts, as if you have one, no. And there are a lot of lists of plants of things that will grow under a walnut tree. So Your neighbor
my
has
neighbor has a huge bed with hostas and
what you can do under if you have a walnut is if there's any droppings, so your leaves, the fruit / nut, any branches, anything that falls, rake it up as soon as you can. The more you keep the ground aerated there, and the more you keep it watered, that will all help.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Garden myths that should help you get started in your gardening this year without any kerfuffle about what to believe or not to believe. But I thank you, Shannon, very much. Thank you for joining us, and happy gardening. It's warming up. We're getting there. Just, take care. Bye for now.